All right, we're on.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Piper. All right, this is Mayor Zettervall, and I will call the meeting to order for the Crestville City Council virtual telephonic meeting for June 8, 2020. First item on the agenda is calling the roll of council. So I will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo here.
Councilor Drago.
Councilor Drago here.
Councilor Knudsen.
Councilor Knudsen here.
Councilor Inman.
Councilor Inman here.
Councilor McReynolds.
Councilor McReynolds here.
Councilor Crochu.
Councilor Croce here.
All right, Mayor Zettervall presiding is present. That gives us 100% attendance tonight. So at this point, I would like to ask council, we have a guest here to provide testimony on item number 6H, the resolution in regards to the public safety fee. I would like council's permission to swap the position of 6C with 6H. Nod or thumbs up on the camera would be approved. Okay.
Good by me.
Mayor, can I make a suggestion?
I don't know if
Yes,
you guys
ma'am.
are seeing me or anything. My phone is crashing again.
Rather than switch C and H, if you could just move H before C, because C is the adoption of the budget
I'm
and
sorry.
all of the
That's a-
resolutions underneath kind of
Yes, that's correct.
follow.
That is what I was intending. I just marked the arrow wrong. So yeah, so we'll swap number H and we'll basically make that one C, and then C will become D, and then we'll go down the line. So, all right, thank you, Michelle. And I did see a consensus from council to go ahead and do that. So we will go ahead and proceed with item number 1, which is public forum. So with the recent adoption of resolution 2020-05 emergency declaration, the following applies for public comments. 2, E, Roman numeral 3, public comments on items not on the agenda. Meetings shall not allow for general public comments. All parties interested in providing public comments will have the opportunity to do so in written form outside of the meeting in a manner dictated for each individual public body. So in effect, if there has been written public comments, we will accept them at this time, but there will be no verbal at this point. So. All right, so we will go ahead and move on to item number 2, which is the mayor's report. Councilors, you should have received an email from the community Food for Crestville, and it's inviting us for a tour of the Cobalt's renovated kitchen. I would like to participate, and I hope that many other councilors will do so as well. Perhaps times could be arranged where 3 councilors at a time could tour the new kitchen. The reason for 3 being we would then ensure that we do not have a quorum city council there at one time. So those who would like to participate, if you could communicate that with Manager Amberg, and then she and I will see what we can do about setting a time and date to get that tour set up. So, all right, item number 2.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Amy.
For those of us that can't make it or don't feel comfortable touring with even small groups of people, would there be a way for either you or Manager Amber to take a video of the tour and then post it somewhere or email it to us, or so whenever you guys go? But then maybe if it's posted somewhere like on our website or Facebook or wherever, then everybody can see it too.
That's a great idea. I like that a lot. Michelle, does that sound important to you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to see if we can arrange to have it videoed and posted on our website and YouTube channels. Maybe even we can get it on Facebook. So that's a fantastic idea.
It sure is. Very good, Amy. Thank you so much. We will make that happen. I like that a lot, because that way any of us that has concerns, and I know certainly myself is one of those, that not having to be around too many people at one time is certainly a consideration. So, all right, we will make sure that we can get that done. All right, the second item on the mayor's report is in regards to the COVID-19 news. Over the last 4 days, the OHA has reported in excess of 400 new COVID cases. It's actually 450 in Oregon. The highest daily number was Sunday, June 7th, with 146 new cases. Today was nearly as bad with 114. I want to remind the people of Creswell that we are likely going to be in this for quite some time and still are waiting to see the peak of new cases. Right now, we have the largest date to date of the number of cases, and that was Sunday with 146, as I mentioned. So let's all pledge to work ourselves to protect ourselves and our families and the Creswell community. Do so by practicing frequent hand washing, 6-foot social distancing, and wearing of well-fitting masks when shopping or when 6-foot distancing is not possible. Masks not only protect you, but also protect the people around you and your fellow Crestwellians. So I think that's really important, and it seems to be a small thing to do to protect people. Okay, we all have seen the news on nationwide in regards to the protests surrounding the killing of George Floyd recently. My heart is heavy and my head is filled with the cries of why. I sincerely hope that the people of Creswell have had the opportunity to reflect on this senseless death and the uproar that has engulfed our nation. This issue hits really close to home to me and my wife. We have one godson in our family, and he is African American, and his wife is Hispanic. They have 3 lovely children, and they are outstanding parents and excellent role models for our community. Their families have invited us into their family and to share their son as our godson. His name is Jeremiah, and I can't even comprehend what it would be like to have Jeremiah be where George Floyd was 2 weeks ago. It's really hard for me to understand. So I would like to propose that the Creswell City Council addresses this matter and calls out against racism in any form and recognize that Black lives matter. I would like to bring forth a policy that speaks to these and that of inclusivity and acceptance. The Lane County Board of Commissioners has recently adopted a policy, and I would like to bring this forward to City Manager Amberg and to our City Attorney and draft a policy or policies for the Creswell City Council to consider in the very near future. So Michelle and I will begin work on that very soon. I would also like to congratulate the graduating class of 2020. When I graduated from high school way back in 1970, yeah, I know I'm old, so get over it. I enjoyed the normal graduation activities just like most every high school senior class had enjoyed before or since and until 2020. This year has been unlike anything that we've ever seen before. This year's graduating class was born into a very tumultuous time with it being post 9/11. Now they graduate in the midst of the worst pandemic in more than a century, as well as the biggest civil unrest since 1968. If these young people have anything beyond what their schoolwork has taught them, it is that of resilience. They have shown great dedication and strength, and that they light the way to the new decade for the graduates to follow. So, it is with my great pleasure to congratulate the class of 2020. You are a very special group. Go forth and make Creswell proud for the future accomplishments that we all know that you will do. All right, moving on to a less happy note anyway. I would like to remind Creswellians who have not filled out the census to please do so. Find your mailer or go onto the website at www.2020census.gov and take the 10 minutes that are needed to complete the census. Accurate counts of the census is what helps to determine state and federal funding levels, and is what helps to determine our representation in Washington, D.C. With an accurate count, Oregon stands to gain another seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. As per to date, Creswell has now $57,000 that will soon be available to Crestwell businesses for loans and grants. Interested businesses should contact the Community Lending Works for more information or for applications. Reminder, these are only available to businesses who have not received any sort of federal assistance and are eligible to apply for these grants. Their website is communitylendingworks.org. So we now move to item number 3, which is correspondence.
Excuse me, Mayor,
Yes,
did
ma'am?
you want to poll the council regarding a special meeting at this time?
Sure, that sounds like a plan. Sorry about that, I forgot.
Yeah.
Council, are we, it's a little bit going on here. Councilor, are we okay with having a special council meeting, brief special council meeting, basically to adopt the minutes from this meeting? Give me a thumbs up or a nod on camera.
We need to set a date and time, so
Okay.
maybe next Monday. The reason for this special meeting, if I could jump in here, if that's all right,
Yes, you
Mayor?
may. Sure.
As you know, we are the lead agency in applying for $150,000 in community development block grant money that will be used throughout the unincorporated areas and the small cities of the county. They're called non-entitlement areas for CDBG. So it excludes Eugene and Springfield. So in order to have a quick turnaround on the CDBG, because of the first come, first serve for the money, we need to submit minutes, certified minutes. And that means that as soon as this meeting is over, Roberta's gonna work on the minutes, and hopefully we'll have them ready for you a week from today, so she has time to post them and create an agenda and send it out,
Okay.
and all of that. If we could meet next Monday for a very brief meeting, only to approve the minutes, that would be really great if you guys could accommodate that. Or sometime thereafter, as quickly as possible.
All right, so the proposal is for next Monday. I'm agreeable with that. So, council, I'm thinking, why don't we do the same thing as next Monday as we did this Monday, which would be 6 p.m. So I would like to have your comments or whatever. Thumbs up. I see one thumbs up down there. I am approval with that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Councilor Prochu, where did you go? Councilor Prochu, do you have okay with that? Council Prochu is having difficulties with his technology.
Good.
You're good. Okay, well, that makes a consensus. So Monday at 6 p.m. it is. Michelle, is that okay?
Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for the reminder on that. I greatly appreciate it. All right, council. So now we will move on to the correspondence section. So is there any comments or concerns about the correspondence?
I have
Go
a
ahead,
question.
Councilor Knudsen.
So regarding the letter that we got from Crestwell Court, Jerry
Mhm.
Chisholm, sure. Obviously, we don't set rents, landlord rents. We have no control over landlord rents. But this $550 increase in sewer, I guess I'm confused because we set sewer rates. And then is this landlord going above and beyond that?
I have not received clarity on that. I know I have been emailing all kinds of people to try and get answers for Ms. Chisholm and still haven't received clarity on the 550. I don't know how that's played out. I don't know if Michelle has anything to offer here or.
I think I might. I believe, and Jim might have even better information than I do, but I believe this is a trailer park where the bill goes to the manager and then it's split between everyone else. So they only have one meter. And so the manager then divides up the cost per unit. And we don't have any control over how they actually divvy up the cost or if they charge an additional amount to maintain the lines that are on their property, because they certainly have extensive lines from the meter to each house. It's kind of a private system after it gets beyond our meter. And one of the things that was recommended is that they go to the state agency that, and it was, I think it was Commissioner Buck that suggested that they go to the state agency that
Yes.
regulates trailer parks and bring their complaints there. That would be the best way to resolve this issue because the city has no jurisdiction. It is private property and it is a private business. And however, there are some state regulations that might apply.
Correct.
Does that help?
Yeah, I felt at a loss because it's not in our purview as counselors to get involved in tenant disputes, but I guess a suggestion would be consult a tenant lawyer.
Yeah.
Band together, that could work possibly. And then so my follow-up was, I thought there was, a stay order regarding evictions, but I thought there was something about like raising rates as well, raising rents and rates for a certain amount of
Under the
time.
state- Like under the state
State.
COVID guidance you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. So maybe whatever agency that deals with those complaints could be of help as well. If you're listening, Jerry.
Yeah, actually the county would be in charge of that. The county's doing I know the county is investigating complaints of evictions, and it's actually the county, I believe it's the health department that's following up on that. So that might be another resource if people are getting evicted. I don't know too much about the rates. I know that we have said that we will not take action against people who don't pay their utility bill for right now. We won't do any water shutoffs. But I don't know of anything that limits the ability to try to increase utility rates at this time. And if that's called out on their rent that way, I'm not quite sure again how this works. But there is a state agency that can look into it that regulates all of the trailer parks. And I really think that's an important player that needs to be contacted by the folks who are unhappy with what's going on there.
Right.
So somebody did follow up. It sounds like Mayor Zetterball, you followed up and are trying to.
I have.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get all the information together to get it to her, but Representative Wilde and County Commission Chair Buck have been very helpful so far and lended their advice as well as some guidances to directions where they might seek help. It is out of our purview per se. And I'd like to be able to offer something to Ms. Chisholm. I think that's only fair. It seemed like it was something I wanted to tackle, so henceforth they did. So and I'm still working on it.
All right.
All right, councilors, any further questions on the correspondence? All right, we'll move on to item number 3, which is number consent calendar. All items listed are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a councilor requests to have an item removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. So councilors, are there any items that would like to be considered separate? All right, hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please.
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Knudsen.
I move we approve the consent calendar as presented.
All right, a motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second. Draco?
Second.
Councilor Drago seconds. Councilor Knudsen made the motion. Is there any further discussion, council? Okay, hearing none, I will call for the roll call vote. Councilor Castilla. Councilor Castilla, you approve?
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Okay, very good, sir. Thank you. Councilor Drago,
Counselor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen,
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yeah.
Okay, very good. Councilor McReynolds,
Councilor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Prochu,
Counselor Pranchu, yes.
and Mayor Zetterball approves. Is there any dissenting votes? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moves us to item number 5 on our agenda, which is the administrative report and manager handbook.
Thank you, Mayor. In your agenda tonight, you have the May 2020 bills. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them at this time.
Very good.
Doesn't sound like there's any questions. The next report is the sheriff's report, and I believe Sergeant Denham is on the line and can answer any questions you might have of him.
Okay, sounds good. Councilors, questions about the police activity report? Hello, Sergeant. Councilor Knudsen.
And I'm joined by the sheriff, by Sheriff Harold, if anybody cares.
Well, hello, Cliff. How are you, sir? Good seeing you again.
See you.
Okay, Councilor Knudsen, you had your hand up for a question?
I always have a question about those Measure 11s that show up in your report. So if you can offer
Yeah, I knew that
any
was automatic.
insight, then please do so.
So the bad news is that we have to take those reports. The good news is that both of them were called in as suspicions of something based on statements that some children made, and they've both been deemed to be unfounded. So though they come in as reports, they turn out to be some things parents have to deal with and talk about, and they're not going to be anything that we'll move forward on.
So did they generate a case number and so forth?
Yes.
And
Yeah, anytime we get a any type of sex Measure 11 type case that involves children, we're going to do a report regardless of anything, and then we'll generally most likely do a forensic interview with them of the kids first, and if there's nothing that comes out of that interview, then that's pretty much the end of it. We'll deem it to be unfounded, and we'll keep that on the books for if something else comes up at a later date or more information is deemed. But in these two cases, there was some concerns that parents had, so and based on their circumstances, they called in and we investigated, and they turned out to be not valid.
Good. Councilors, any further questions for Sergeant Denham?
I have a second one.
Go ahead, Councilor Knudsen, you have the floor.
I'm just curious and concerned, as we all are. We do not have our own police force, and so we contract with you good fellas at Lane County Sheriff's Office. And so I feel like that puts us in a bit of a lack of oversight, if you will, about the contract we have in place and the policies that you have versus we might have or we might want. I mean, obviously all this comes down to peaceful protests, handling protesters, use of force. So I guess I would just like some reassurance from you, maybe some insight into how you would deal with such things if they were to come to our city, and just some reassurances.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I'll try and address that. Understand the concerns and recognize sort of, as you put it, the concerns about oversight, and in particular with respect to the way we provide services on behalf of the city. So, of course, over the last many weeks, I've received much correspondence about my oversight regarding the office related to the pandemic and related to specifically the operation of a jail during a pandemic. And so I've responded to a lot of that. And then more recently, a lot of requests for information with respect to our organization, use of force policy, use of force reporting. And so I'm actually working also to prepare some proactive information for the Board of County Commissioners with respect to how the Sheriff's Office policy and training aligns with what you might find in other locations in the country. Oregon in particular has some pretty strict certification training requirements. So in order to maintain certification as a police officer in the state of Oregon, you have to meet state mandated training requirements. And of course, the Sheriff's Office does meet those maintenance requirements for each of our involved sworn staff. when a deputy sheriff is first hired, we have internal training. Very, very early on in that is some extensive training with respect to de-escalation techniques and the way in which we interact with people. Our sheriff's deputies, almost 100%, are hired initially to work inside the Lane County Jail. And I oftentimes try to speak with people about the difference between an interaction on the street in uniform. So we have a uniform, which is a symbol of authority, and we have an interaction on the street for maybe 5 minutes with someone that may or may not want to do what we're asking them to do, versus working in the jail. You're wearing the same uniform, but you're working a housing area with an individual and you're trying to convince them to do the things that we want them to do for an 8-hour shift. And at the end of that 8-hour shift, you're going to come back the next day and probably be involved with the same individual. And so personally, I'm quite convinced that our staff learn some exceptional skills because of the work environment within the jail, where you're needing to use your words and your communication to guide behavior of folks who are housed in Lane County Jail. And then by the time our folks get out to patrol, they've got 2 or 3 years of that sort of experience where they're walking into a dorm that may have, not currently because of the pandemic, but our larger dorm has 48 individuals in it. And so a deputy might be in there by themselves having a conversation with folks. And so the way that we interact with people, the way that we communicate, and de-escalation, I'm quite convinced that correctional experience creates a set of skills when our folks come out to work patrol that are advanced communication skills. I've already rambled on far enough to sort of get the multi-parts in your question. Just real briefly about policy. We have a very thorough use of force policy, and we have a very robust use of force policy review process. And so anytime that there is a use of force or even an allegation of a use of force, deputies fill out a separate form, a use of force after action report form, with a narrative. That gets reviewed by their direct supervisor, a sergeant. The sergeant has to sign off and say, I concur that this was an appropriate use of force. That then goes to the lieutenant. The lieutenant reviews it and has to sign off and say, I concur. It then goes to the division commander, which is a captain, either the captain in charge of the police division or the captain in charge of the jail division. The captain reviews it and signs off on it. And then its final resting place is with the chief deputy. So that's the number 2 in the organization. The guy works just down the hall from me, Cresswell guy, Chief Deputy Carl Wilkerson. And so he is the final review. And then it still goes to our lieutenant who's in charge of our training division, and he reviews it to see if there's any deficiencies in our training program that should be addressed based on the use of force. So a very, very robust review system. And I know I recently received an email request wanting to know, well, do deputies get disciplined for incorrect use of force? And do deputies who are standing by when an incorrect use of force happens, does anything happen to them? That's obviously relevant to the current nationwide concerns. And the answer is yes. I can show you that historically we have disciplined deputies who are outside of an appropriate use of force, and we have disciplined deputies who stood by when somebody was outside of an appropriate use of force. And so we have those structures in place. I am just unbelievably proud of the staff that work at the Lane County Sheriff's Office. I tell you that they are internally motivated to serve their community. They don't do the job for any other reason. We are made up of human beings, and it is, of course, difficult when an individual's actions are then sort of reflected across a group of individuals in any circumstance, and so that's hard to work through. But we recognize that it has increased the conversation of paying attention to how your law enforcement provider provides law enforcement services. And so here at the Lane County Sheriff's Office, our mission is straight out of the Oregon Revised Statutes. It's to conserve the peace. And I truly believe that our deputy sheriffs are peacekeepers, and that's our standard mode of operation. If there were any particular points that I didn't hit during my ramble, please follow up with me.
I have a question, please.
All right, go ahead, Martha.
Thank you. Hello, officers Denham and Harold. So I remember when we adopted our emergency plan language, I was really impressed with the fact that Michelle, that the city manager can declare martial law at any point as they see fit under this emergency declaration, and also set curfew. I recall those 2 points. And I like hearing the chain of command and within your organization with the sheriff's office that there's, I would expect you to have stuff in place around use of force and all that. But where's Michelle on that list? If stuff starts getting so interesting that your use of force policies are even more enacted in the moment, I would imagine that Michelle is on the phone with y'all at some point saying, okay, curfew or something, you know? How's the interface with Michelle, with the city manager, if things get that weird?
So as a part of the contract, Michelle and I are generally pretty much in lockstep communication, especially if we were to have some type of event such as things that happened in other cities, or if there were, even in a natural disaster type event, when your city EOC gets stood up, then I'm going to pretty much be involved in that EOC. And if any communication is needed to go forward for additional resources or to assist with the desire to make a certain thing happen, such as a curfew or something like that, then we would bring in my supervisors, the lieutenant, captain, to create a plan on how we would work with that and how would be able to best assist the city with that type of directive. So there'd be a lot of communication, and it would start with me.
Okay, good. Thank you. I remember we had that training at the beginning of being counselors with FEMA, but really that's a foreign language to me. And 3.5 years later, I'm comforted by hearing that Michelle is in that loop. I would presume on a normal day she is, but it's even more critical at this point. And if we, it's not going to get that weird for us, but I just want to, I appreciate being able to hear how Michelle Nick's in there.
And she was in that loop with me on Wednesday when we were thinking about that there may be some people show up at the fire station during their board meeting down in Cottage Grove, but nothing materialized yet.
Well, way to be thinking proactively and, in terms of what might be coming up. I'm not. That's over my head. So thanks. I'm out.
Okay, councilors, any further questions? Councilor Knudsen?
So, yeah, I did present you guys with like a multitude of questions. So just to narrow it down again, policies or protocols, a protest erupts in our city. It's peaceful signs, but maybe it's 50, 100 people, 200 people. When does law enforcement get involved, and how are you going to handle that?
Yeah, so initially we would be present and observing. We really, and definitely also Michelle would be communicating on behalf of the city what the desires are there, assuming City Hall or some other city structure is the focus of the attention. But similar to what we've seen, I think, say, for example, Springfield recently, they set up in a posture to protect their police headquarters, their City Hall, and otherwise had, from what I've seen anyway, I haven't watched all of the video available, but what I've seen had very little interaction. And I would assume that if something came to Crestwell, that's what it would look like. It would look like a group of people, probably some speeches and some expressions of support. But assuming there's no effort to seize control of an area of business or start smashing in windows, then truly it would be just an operational posture. If the crowd started to give indication that there was desire to do something more than expression of speech. We would make some plans to be able to disperse the crowd if necessary. If we saw the sort of activity that took place in Eugene with breaking the windows of Jimmy John's and Starbucks and that's something that we would not just be in an observational stature on. Hopefully before it came to fruition and got that far out of hand, we would attempt to disperse that crowd.
Okay, Councilor Knudsen, did you have any further questions?
I'm thinking.
Okay,
I have a related question.
okay, we'll go ahead and move over to Councilor McReynolds then.
I know in some of the larger cities, Portland is an example lately, a lot of times the organized protest management actually meet with the police ahead of time and come up with a plan and, even have the photo ops all set up for the arrests and stuff. I don't know that anyone's going to be that organized around that down here, but if someone approached City Hall saying, hey, we want to plan a peaceful protest, you're ready to talk with them, I presume.
You bet, absolutely. We would really, really want the opportunity to establish that communication ahead of time.
Okay, cool, good, thanks.
Okay, councilors, any other questions?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you, Sergeant Denham, and also for Sheriff Harold. All right, go ahead and continue on, Michelle.
Thank you, John. That was a really good discussion. I appreciate that. The next item up is the city attorney's report. Do you have any questions regarding this report? If not, the next is the code enforcement report. I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have there. We are moving into the noxious vegetation abatement period on June 15th. So we may be seeing some abatements being undertaken. I'm not quite sure if Jerry has actually gone around and assessed where we're at as far as that goes. I can certainly ask him and find out more. And again, he's very proud of the pictures that he included. This was a problem area in town. He met with them, he talked to them, they cleaned it up, and they even put a pool in the place of where the mess was. So that was a great success on his part. Do you have any questions about code enforcement?
Well, commend Mr. Luke for that. I was really pleased to see the photos and an improvement to someone's yard. I really appreciate that. So make sure you pass that along if you would.
He's done a fine job with those kinds of cleanups. He's done a couple of them that have really worked out nicely for the neighbors and for the people.
Very good.
I will pass that along to him. The next is the building permit report. Got some very good news from Maddie. She's been working like crazy. So even though our building permits might look a little less than we'd want, they should be picking back up here pretty soon. So that's good news. Then you have your Rain Oregon report, which is the economic development assistance. Was there a question? Okay. Was there any questions on the Rain report? Okay, well, that concludes the administrative report.
Yeah, sounds pretty quiet out there. All right, councilors, we'll go ahead and move to the back side of the page, and we'll move on to action items. Action item number 6A, resolution extending the temporary state of emergency. Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. I put this on here because our state of emergency has expired. And one of the things that is in the state of emergency is the language regarding how we do public hearings and also public comment when we have these remote kind of meetings. If we continue on with these types of meetings, we probably should adopt the resolution 2020-09, extending the temporary state of emergency until such time as these kinds of meetings are no longer necessary.
Councilors, any questions for Manager Amber?
I had a question.
Go
So
ahead, Amy.
I had emailed both the mayor and Manager Amberg regarding phase 2 and going forward. And it sounds like we're not going to be meeting in person anytime soon. So that kind of puts a damper on public meetings and hearings and comments. So, but we don't really have a date. We're just, it's kind of an open-ended state of emergency until phase 3, until what?
Yeah, well, you can end it at any time. If you decide that you'd like to go ahead and have meetings back up in the council chambers, you can vote to end this at any time. It's your resolution. But as far as what I've heard from the state, we'll have to maintain the 6-foot distancing, which is required until we enter phase 3. And phase 3 will be when we have a vaccine or medications that effectively treat the COVID-19 virus. So it could be quite a while. On the positive side, we have more people watching. Actually, right now we have, I was just counting up off of Facebook, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people attending virtually right now on Facebook alone. That doesn't include the number of people who are watching us on YouTube. Jim might have that number.
I got
But
6
that's actually more people than participate in live meetings. So,
Right.
you know, I think we're seeing that there is some value to being online. If we went back to meetings in the council chambers, there might be a lag in getting back online because we wouldn't be able to use this type of technology. We'd have to go to a whole different kind of technology to broadcast live, and we don't have the equipment for that right now. So, you know, it could be a few months. I don't think we budgeted for that equipment. So yeah, Jim's going no. So in some ways, we're actually reaching more people. And what people need to do is just contact Roberta, and she will make sure that they're accommodated. If they want to attend in the city council chambers now, they can. We have the chairs 6 feet apart, so they can sit in the chairs. We'll be having our court live Wednesday night, municipal court. And again, they'll take 1 or 2 people at a time. They'll be kept 6 feet apart, and they'll follow all the protocols with masks and sanitation, the sanitizing the hands, and wearing gloves and everything. So we are trying to be as open as we can be. Additionally, I would suggest any of the counselors who have the small meetings, the small city council meetings, city council committee meetings, yeah, that we should start doing those again in the council chamber, because we can space you 6 feet apart. There's only 4 or 5 people who are members, 3 counselors, and then a couple of staff people that attend. So we could be holding those again in the city council chambers and have the public in to observe, and again, keeping the 6 feet distant. So we're kind of in a hybrid time, and we would do our best to accommodate whatever the city council chooses. We could probably set you 6 feet apart. It would be difficult because we'd have to have some kind of mix of people sitting at tables on the floor and people sitting up on the dais, and how the mics would work. There's just some technology issues that we'd have to work out, but we really remain committed to doing whatever the city council desires. So that was a very long answer to your question.
No, I wanted a full spectrum, what ifs and what's going on. I mean, I don't like passing resolutions without discussing them and getting the full picture. And I mean, I basically knew all that, and I'm not pushing to have in-chamber meetings at all. But I also don't like just open-ended, like, well, we're just gonna have the state of emergency until whenever. We are being cognitive about deadlines and trying to stay safe and trying to follow all the guidelines in place. And so I appreciate that. So good, thank you.
Thank
So I
you.
would like to also add to this that Councilor Knudsen also asked in regards to work sessions. And that is something that we still have yet to address. So how do we proceed with work sessions, Michelle, if we were to so decide?
It would probably be like a city council meeting. We would have probably 5 of you at the dais and 3 of you at tables on the floor, and we'd have staff in the room. It would be very difficult to accommodate the public, but we might be able to put a couple, 3 or 4 people in the conference room with audio coming through. And then,
Would there be any way of doing it like we're doing right now?
sure, you can hold work sessions this way.
Because I wonder if that's something we as a council should consider. There is other work that we could be adding to our agendas other than the
We need to.
necessary work.
Right.
If you would like to have work sessions, you can do it this way. Obviously it kind of cuts down a little bit on the interaction because of some of the technical difficulties that people experience, but there's nothing that says you can't go back to having work sessions.
Okay, so council, I don't know if this is something we would have to decide, or is a consensus and enough to enable that, Michelle?
I would
Is that
feel
something we'd have
comfortable with just city council. If everybody on city council feels comfortable to have meetings this way, work session meetings, we can go ahead and set one up for July.
Okay.
I
Council,
think we should consider it. I think, obviously tonight's a long meeting because we have a lot of budget things to go through, but I know there was a lot of things that we were working on that's been pushed aside. I know there's a lot of things coming up before the end of the year, and I would just hate for us to get bogged down in November and December because we didn't want to discuss it in a work session via Zoom. I mean, I think if everybody's on video, it's pretty cool that we can sit here and talk about it, and it's just like in a work session. If you have something to say, speak up. We're here to listen, we're here to discuss.
we wouldn't be taking roll call votes, so it would actually be
It might go faster.
smoother than what we've got going with roll call votes. So, council, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get a thumbs up from the screen that I'm appearing. So I'm going to give a thumbs up. I see Martha's a thumbs up, Amy's a thumbs up, Judy, thumbs up, Alonzo, thumbs up, and Kevin's a thumb. And Misty, I need to have a verbal from you. I don't see you. Councillor Inman, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, very good. That sounds like that's a rousing approval there at that point, Michelle. So let's discuss that at our Wednesday morning meeting, Michelle, and we will discuss whether that will move forward in July as we're thinking right now. So there'll be a lot of things we'll have to consider in that regard. So, all right, so back to the issue at hand, which is the state of emergency. So is there any further discussion, council?
Just a question, Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Michelle. You addressed all my questions and concerns, and you're probably going to get to it. I was just curious as to when would be the next end date if we went forward with extending this emergency declaration?
It would be for as long as you wish. You would meet and you would cancel it. You would rescind the resolution. That's when it would end. Does that make sense? Okay.
So,
Yeah.
just to make that clear, any councilor or mayor can bring that forward and say, hey, can we rescind this? And we can all talk about it and vote on it. I mean, putting it on a forward agenda, but I think making it clear to all councilors, if you feel like, well, it's about time we get back to business and meet in person, bring it up. And if we say yes, then we'll vote yes. And if we all vote against you, then we vote against you.
Well, you can also contact me and let me know that your thoughts, and I can pass them on to the mayor, and we can put it on the agenda. We have agenda meetings, and so we can put it on the agenda meeting for discussion.
Okay, very good. Now, all right, councilors, any further questions on item 6A? If not, I'm entertaining a motion.
I'll do the motion.
I'll make the motion.
I think Councilor Knudsen had you just ahead of time there, Councilor Cochu.
You have better internet, I bet.
Blame it on the internet.
There you go.
I have fiber optic. I don't. I move that the city council adopt resolution 2020-09, extending the temporary state of emergency.
All right, council, a motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'm gonna
I'll
second it.
second, Counselor.
Councilor Prochu makes the second. So we've had a motion and a second to the motion. And is there any further discussion, council? Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and take the roll call vote. Councilor Castilla.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Drago.
Counselor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Councilor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Prochu.
Councilor Bradshaw, yes.
And Councilor Zetterhall votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. That moves us to item 6B, which is the modification of the methodology for calculating system development charges. And this will be Mr. Piper. This is also a public hearing, so I will go ahead and get the public hearing text rolling here. The City Council is holding a public hearing on Resolution 2020-10, a resolution amending the City of Crestwell system development charges for water, wastewater, stormwater, streets, and parks. If you are attending the meeting and wish to speak, please fill out a form located at the table by the door, or if you have supplied written comments, city recorder will let us know. So we will go ahead and open the hearing at this point. The public hearing for Resolution 2020-10, a resolution amending the city's Crestwell system development charges for water, wastewater, stormwater, streets, and parks is now open. The staff report, Mr. Piper, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Zetterwall, city councilors. The item before you is a resolution amending the Crestwell's system development charges. The SDCs are a one-time fee for new development, and they recover the cost of infrastructure capacity needed to serve new development. Starting in January, City of Crestwell hired a consultant to review the SDC methodologies and rates that were in place and make any recommended updates. The city formed a work group that worked closely with the consultants. The work group consisted of the city manager, myself, the finance director, public works director, the mayor, the council president, and a planning commissioner. Public meetings were held where presentations were made to the planning commission on April 16th. And as you know, at the last city council meeting on May 11th, another meeting was held where the council received the consultant's final report detailing the study and its results. The report from the consultant, Mr. Donovan, who is here in attendance today, noted many of the facility master plans have been recently updated thanks to all the planning work that's been done over the last 5 years. However, the SDCs have not been updated. The most recent was in 2006. Further analysis of the performance of the SDCs indicated that that the water SDCs were overperforming while the sewer, streets, parks, and SDCs were underperforming. The recommended updates align with the projected growth of the city's capital improvement projects found in those facility master plan documents. Further, the recommended update of the SDCs are in line with the neighboring cities. Again, the consultant, Steve Donovan, is here in attendance and he can address any questions. Steve, did you have any further comments?
No. Good evening, Mayor, councilors. We've been working on this for quite a while now. I know you've all been deeply involved in it, and that's helpful. The rates that you see tonight are the result of 6 months of work, and we have had considerable input from all directions. And I think this is my recommendation to you is to adopt this resolution tonight to get your SDCs in line with your master plans and to have growth pay its share of future costs attributable to those capital plans.
All right, thank you, Mr. Donovan. It's a pleasure seeing your face tonight, having not had that opportunity before. So, councilors, are there any questions for Mr. Piper or Mr. Donovan? Hearing none, I guess I will entertain a motion, please.
Hold on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mayor
Sorry,
Zimmer.
we're still in a public hearing. I forgot. What am I doing? Okay, so we are still within a public hearing.
Yes.
And we will need to keep the hearing open for 1 minute. Are there any public comments that have been filed in written form?
None.
None, okay. And obviously I believe the answer is probably the same, but is there anyone in attendance?
No one in actual attendance.
Okay, very good. Then I will go ahead and start the timer. We'll hold the hearing open for 1 minute before we proceed.
Looks like we have 6 in attendance on YouTube.
Very good.
I do not see any comments there.
We have 9 in attendance on Facebook, and there's no comment.
Just a
Other
moment,
than
Councilor.
thank you for making it easy to attend the meetings.
Yeah, just a moment, Councilor Knudsen will end the minute and then we'll go ahead and ask some questions.
I was just saying hi to our 15 people that are watching.
Oh, I see. Very good. I think we all share that feeling. It's nice to have 15 people in attendance. That's wonderful. All right, the 1 minute time has elapsed. Councilors, is there any further questions for Mr. Piper or Mr. Donovan? All right, hearing none, I now can entertain a motion after I end the hearing. The public hearing is now closed, and I am entertaining a motion, Council.
I'll do it.
Councilor Knudsen,
I move that the city council adopt resolution 2020-10, amending the city of Crestwell system development charges, SDCs, for water, wastewater, stormwater, streets, and parks as presented.
very good. The motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Castillo, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, we have a motion and the second. Is there any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and call for the vote in alphabetical order, as I had mentioned before. Roll call form. Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
And Councilor Drago.
Counselor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Councilor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Councilor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Prochu.
Councilor Prochu, yes.
And Mayor Zetterball votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Donovan. Great work.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Donovan.
congratulations, Mr. Piper, for assisting in this effort. It is well past due, and I look forward to being able to generate some funds. So, all right, we will now move on to item number 6H, which is the public safety fee. Let me dig number 6H out here for you. Okay, 6H, that would be the public safety fee. I believe that will be is that Mr. Piper that's doing that, is that correct?
No.
Manager Amber.
Ms. Sandberg, okay, very good.
Yeah. What you have before you tonight is kind of a two-prong approach to this. You need to do 2 things tonight. We need to authorize me to sign the contract for continued service with the Sheriff's Department. But we also need to decide on the number of deputies starting July 1st and the consequential fee that goes along with that, that will be included on our utility bill starting July 1st. So, as you know, I've broken down the staffing in the staff report. So you can see what the monthly public safety fee will be. Currently, it's $818 per month. If we continue without adding the additional deputy, we'll go up to $856, which is just a reflection of cost of living increase in the contract. If we do add the additional deputy, so we go up to 1 sergeant and 4 deputies, which is very similar to what Benita has done, it'll be $14.56 a month. So I know there was extensive discussion about this at the budget committee meeting. In fact, it was one of the better discussions. So it was kicked down to the city council to decide. The appropriation is in the budget to go with the 4th deputy if you so decide. If you decide not to, even though the appropriation is in the budget, we will not increase the fee. So tonight's the night to make the decision on the 4th deputy as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
And Sheriff Harold is here as well to answer any questions, and so is Sergeant Benham.
All right, very good. Councilors, any questions for Manager Emberg or for Sheriff Harold?
Yes, sir.
Councilor McReynolds, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Michelle Amberg, please. Remind me, do I remember correctly that the wiggle room that we discussed at the budget committee was actually going with half of the increase and going with the end goal of 3.5 deputies? Wasn't there a middle spot we were going to shoot for, not an act?
That you can't do a half a deputy. They can't hire someone part-time, and we'd have to share a deputy with the county or with another jurisdiction. And to my knowledge, that's not an option that's available. However, Sheriff Harold could probably address that better than I.
Well, no, if I don't need to take the airtime if and I see Judy's nodding no, shaking her head no. I just remembered that we had this genius thing set up where we're adopting the potential top range of the increase, but we're not necessarily having to go there in this changing time. And I just remember we were taking a half step instead of what we had planned to be the full step at that time. Am I remembering this wrong? Okay.
Yeah.
It was just like later in the year, we were talking possibly doing it in January instead of July.
Right. So the city council at this time could pass the budget, which appropriates the funds but doesn't spend them. Just because it's in the budget doesn't mean that it will be spent. The budget is a plan. And if you pass the budget as it said, it doesn't really give us the direction on where we need to go with the deputy. So tonight, the city council, we're listening to hear what your direction would be, whether it be to, look at adding a 4th deputy in July, adding a 4th deputy in January, or just staying with 3 deputies.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And the public safety fee won't go up until that deputy is added either.
You're absolutely right, Councilor Drago. We cannot charge a fee for a service we don't provide. So if we don't have the deputy, we will not increase the fee.
Okay, Councilor Castillo, have a question?
Yes, my question would be to Michelle. So it really is what we would be doing is delaying the fee, the increase in the fee, correct?
You could make that decision tonight. Yes, you could, if that's what you wanted to do.
If we move forward with the extra deputy and this doesn't go through till January, I think you said?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we would kind of be doing, would be delaying it?
That would be correct.
We wouldn't have that deputy until January.
If that's what you decided tonight, that's what we would put in the contract. Probably I'm not sure what would work best for the county. My guess would be that we would go ahead with the contract that has the 3 deputies in it at this time, and then amend that contract on a date certain when city council has directed staff to move up to the 4th deputy. But in the meantime, we would have appropriation to do that, which is nice because then we don't have to change the budget. We don't have to call the budget committee together to change the budget. We have the room in the budget to do it according to what we're allowed to spend, which is the appropriation.
So I just wanted to make this clear. So this item is not about the budget. This item is about executing the contract with the Lane County Sheriff's Department, which will go into effect July 1st of this year.
You could amend,
That is what's being presented at this
that's
time.
correct. Yeah, I went with that because, that's what's,
That's
the
typically.
budget. Yeah, that's what the budget is based on, but the city council can amend the motion. That's why I put the little amended parentheses in, because I wasn't sure which direction you were going to go tonight. So yeah, you could say, we want to have the deputy come on in September, October. You could say, February, March. You could do it however you like. So, it really is your call, and then I'll work with the county to make sure that we can make it happen.
So I just want to make that clear. As it's being presented, this is the typical contract that we renew every year, and it will begin July 1st of this year.
Right.
If we amend it. If we start talking about amendments, that is what we were discussing at the budget meeting, which is to have it go into effect at a later date, or in January, or next year. I mean, we never really came to a decision on if we wanted to postpone it, if we wanted to just have it presented as is. So I felt like people at the budget meeting were saying, no, we shouldn't be raising fees right now. And that's a huge jump from yes, it will go to $856 no matter what, because we do have to just cover costs of keeping the contract as is. But from $856 to $1456 sounds like a lot to people that are facing eviction and facing rent increases and facing unemployment and facing uncertainty of when and if they will ever get a job again. So this year's, I think, a little bit harder to swallow this increase in the fee, only because of what's happened in the last 3 months is absolutely unprecedented. And I don't feel good saying, while everybody else, every company in the world out there is saying, oh, don't worry about it, skip fees, skip this month's rent, we won't evict you. And they're having a lot of leniency. And then we're saying, oh, by the way, no, we're not going to have any leniency. We're still going to hire that 4th deputy. That, yes, the public safety committee and the survey did say, yes, we want that, but that was 6 months ago. Who knows how people's minds have changed? Okay, I'll stop somewhere.
Okay, no, actually, the next would be Councilor Drago, please.
I just wanted to do like Amy did, just remind all the public, the reason we were suspending it or talking about moving it out was because of the situation people are in because of COVID and their money situation and trying to help them out.
Okay, Councilor Reynolds.
And I'll add regarding leniency is we planned this in regarding the recommended water and sewer rate increases. We lowballed those in order to allow a public works increase. So where we could, we've built in some leniency, if that's the word for it.
Okay,
Public
councilors.
safety, you said public works. Did you mean public safety?
Yes, I meant public safety, sorry. We lowballed the increase on the water and sewer rates in order to allow for growth for public safety. I'm out.
Okay, Councilor Prochu.
Thank you. Just wanted to kind of remind the public that have tuned in and the ones that will watch the replay. The need for an additional deputy in Cresswell is definitely warranted and definitely needed. I think that Sergeant Denham has laid out a pretty clear case of how that extra resource would improve the service that we're getting in Cresswell. So I've been struggling with this one too. I've been thinking about it all weekend long. It's been on my mind quite a bit actually today too. Had a short conversation with Michelle this afternoon. In these times of uncertainty, I think we've seen, just as it's been mentioned, that we have people on fixed incomes, some on unemployment due to COVID, rent increases, and those kinds of things. And so I get a small increase to some are maybe a large increase, a huge increase to others. So I really understand that. We're also in contentious times. I think we addressed that earlier in the meeting now, and a lot of people are kind of asking about how do we provide public safety, and it doesn't always look like this. Are there other ways that we provide public safety that don't necessarily include police? And so we're going to need to have some of those kinds of conversations. But I also want to say that I'm pretty cognitive of the fact that things work differently in a small town like ours as opposed to large towns. I'm very happy that we're going to be looking at our policies and those kinds of forward and stuff like that. So we've got a lot to think about here. I really do, and I acknowledge that it's not going to be an easy decision to make tonight.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a comment on Facebook. Would
Okay,
you like to hear it?
yes, ma'am.
It's from Norma Jean Osborne, and she says, I believe that we need the fourth deputy. I think we should go ahead with the process of hiring an additional officer because it can take a while to actually find and hire this new person unless they're already working for the county.
Okay, very good. Mr. Piper?
May I address the collectability? As you know, since the beginning of COVID, Manager Amberg has announced that we won't be shutting off services due to unpaid utility bills. We've been watching those payments closely to make sure there isn't a sudden spike in collectibles going 60 days out, and we haven't noticed an increase. So I just wanted to give you an update as far as what we're seeing on the collection of utility payments.
Okay. Manager Amberg?
Yeah, just to tag on to what Jim has said, I heard from Community Sharing today that they have more money than ever available to assist people with their utility bills and are highly encouraging anyone who needs the assistance right now to come in and apply for it. They're concerned that they're not actually getting enough requests for the what they call basic service requests. So if anybody actually needs help with medication or laundry mat services, need help with their utility bill to right now come in, even if you've asked for help before. They are waiving all of their limitation requirements as far as you can only come in twice a year for help. Right now they're saying, please, if you need help on this, please come in and talk to us. They have funds to help.
Okay, very good. Councillor Inman, do you have any comments? I believe you're the only one I haven't heard from yet.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Well, unfortunately, I missed most of that conversation. This is the second time I've been booted off
Oh, no.
and had to rejoin. So I think I lost from maybe Martha on. But if I do recall passing, if we were to move forward with this, there was the conversation, and this might have already been said, and I apologize if so, of holding off of that increase. Kind of what Councillor Knudsen had said with the change of COVID, when we made that decision with the public safety fee, that was a different time. However, if we were to move forward, that we could maybe relook, I think Michelle mentioned a survey to see what the general feeling was now since after COVID and kind of go from there. So it's kind of my thought of
Okay, thank you.
reassessing.
Thank you, Councilor Inman. Any further comments from the council? Mr. Piper? Or
I have another question.
Kevin, go ahead, sir.
Question is for Manager Amberg. I think that one thing that might help us maybe with our decision too, what options do we have later on? I don't like to say, oh, let's the add and then let's take away. So we wouldn't do quite that, but we have the ability to say, well, that didn't quite work out the way that we had hoped. Maybe we should roll it back, right?
Go ahead, Michelle.
Once we're in a contract, we're in a contract. And we would have to negotiate rolling back with the county. So I think it would be much easier to add the deputy than to take it away because they have to hire someone and it does impact their budget. So I don't know if they have an extra deputy floating around that they can absorb if we decide not to use the deputy. And it's a much harder decision because somebody might have to be laid off. So I would caution against adding someone only to let them go. I have another Facebook comment.
Okay, go ahead.
This is from Tammy Spoosh. She says, I believe we need the additional deputy in this time of unusual circumstances for COVID-19. It's helpful that the city, that the city will not shut off services. So she's agreeing with that, the fact that we don't shut off, we're not doing water shutoffs. And then those of us that filled out the survey care deeply about proper coverage of police services in our town. So that was her comment.
Okay. Councilor Knudsen.
So I guess I'll direct this to our good Lane County Sheriff's Office here. Like I said before, we've always just approved this contract going forward July 1, and I feel like we've all been happy to do that. Slowly, we've increased our deputies, and I think we've all been happy with that. We have been unhappy, a lot of us, with the lack of having enough deputies for 24/7 coverage, myself included. But, and that's a big but, with everything that's gone on, I'm not fully convinced that I can in full conscience say, oh, hey, by the way, people, we're gonna raise your fee. So if we choose not to, if we vote not to go forward with the contract with the 4th deputy and by mid-year, or maybe even we come to you in September or October, whenever we can stick this fee to people, what does the Lane County Sheriff's Office think of that? Do you have a deputy available if we need it later down the road? Or is this get it while you can?
So we probably won't have one immediately, like if you give me a week's notice.
Right.
We won't have one immediately available, but we would certainly be able to have that conversation as to when we would be able to accommodate that based on whatever our current staffing and training levels for deputies that are available at that particular time. We've got right now a constant flow of deputies that are coming out to replace people that have left, people who have retired or moved on to other things, or other positions that become available due to retirement and things like that. So we don't know what the next 6 months is completely going to look like as far as our training and who's here, who's not here, what positions we have. So that's just going to be a conversation we can have as the council gets closer. I would assume we would be able to accommodate that relatively quickly, but I can't guarantee that.
But you're
I just
open
want
to
to
the conversation of amending the contract mid-contract.
Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. I just want to add that we've had a really long standing and outstanding relationship with the city of Crestwell. City of Crestwell's really made some great strides in increasing their ability to provide public safety within the city limits, and we want to continue to partner with the city. And so in this matter of finding one additional FTE, we're going to work hard to accommodate that whenever the city is able to do it. I had the privilege of getting to be the contract sergeant for a number of years, and I got to be a part of helping Veneta grow their contract to 4 deputies. And the difference in coverage from 3 to 4 just really felt significant and dramatic as far as coverage in the city. And I want to partner with Crestwell to see it get there whenever you can. So the shortest answer is, yeah, we're going to find a way to happen. We'll have those communications and we'll find a way to make it happen.
Okay, thank you guys.
Councilors, any further questions? Okay, good, then I'll take
Just
my
another
turn.
comment if I can.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, it's so interesting because I feel like we're really facing 2 dilemmas. And one is an economic uncertainty, which, you know, is big. And then also the uncertainty of what could happen, you know, with rioting and protests and stuff like that. So we have a responsibility, I feel, but it goes both ways, and I'm still really torn on this. So for what that's worth.
All right, I will go ahead and make my 2 cents known then at this point. Now that I've heard from everybody, and I want to echo the same sentiments that I've heard from many of the councilors, in the respect that I too struggle with adding a deputy right off the bat in July. I fully support adding the deputy in July, but you know, it is a very uncertain time and a very historic time in what's happening in our society. So I would be comfortable, you know, delaying the addition of a 4th deputy until January. That's kind of my thoughts. So, Michelle, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I would like to point out just something for your consideration, and Sergeant Denham can fill you in probably much better than I can. But the summer months are the months when the need for the deputy is the highest. So, and this would provide coverage on the weekends, which right now during the day, if you have something that you want to talk to a deputy for, you have to wait till the evening deputy comes on. So adding this deputy could make a significant difference in the amount of coverage of a deputy that's available to meet with citizens when they're home on the weekend. And like I said, during the summer months. But I defer to Sergeant Denham's perspective on that.
Sergeant Denham, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so currently, there's no daytime deputy on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I'm here on Monday and in the midst of all the catch-up stuff from the previous week that I do on Monday, I can respond to in-progress calls or something that's emergent. People that come to the door and ring the doorbell a few times during the day, I can respond to those, but there's no deputy here that actually goes out and takes a report that is not currently in progress. So those people end up waiting until sometime after 5 o'clock when that nighttime deputy comes on. And so those 3 days are not covered during the daytime. What that leaves is that deputy neighbor over the past several months on day shift, they're the person who ends up with all of the child abuse reports from the DHS, the sex abuses, all of those calls that normally come in during the daytime. Those come in and he invariably gets assigned them because he's available to go and do the interviews that are associated with that during the daytime at Kids First when they're open, because they're not open in the evening. And those are very time consuming. So with having him have a caseload of the last 2 weeks, I utilized him quite heavily. He had 3 different cases, including those 2 Measure 11s that had to be investigated, and those take going and talking to people that don't live in the city because they're family members where some of this stuff supposedly occurred. So they have to go out and interview people. They have to go do the Kids First interviews and then come back and do the enormous amount of writing that goes along with those, which makes them not available to be out in the community and doing traffic stops and the visible things that people want to see during the week. So What that fourth deputy does is create a second daytime person that I can divide those cases out to, so that they're not spending an enormous amount of time on multiple cases. They might be working on one case, which gives them a lot more autonomy during the daytime, all days of the week, to go out and be responding to those smaller calls, watching people who are doing suspicious things like roaming through neighborhoods, and doing traffic stops and things like that will slow down the in response to the complaints that we get of speeding vehicles all the time. So hopefully that answers a little bit of question for what that gives us.
Okay, Councilor Knudsen, I saw you had your hand up.
I did again. You're not gonna get rid of me.
That's good.
So I just wanna kind of connect this back to Michelle and maybe our finance director here. Hypothetically, we move forward, the contract goes through July 1, rates increase. The rates show up on people's water bills. Some people can't pay their water bills. Does that fee also tie into the water bill? I mean, because it's not part of the water, they're not paying for water services, but that's just how we produce the bill, and the fee is on their water bill. So
Yeah,
it's leniency,
it is a utility bill.
utility bill, correct?
Right, it's not a water bill. So, yes, it would be part of their utility bill, and Community Services Consortium, Community Sharing would be able to help anyone who was unable to pay their bill for the foreseeable future. And I would highly, again, encourage anyone to contact them who needs that kind of assistance. There is plenty of money there right now.
So people get this bill, it's too much.
Mhm,
They see extra fees, it's too much.
mhm.
There are options.
That's correct.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah, especially for right now. I can't say that those options would still be available in January. It all depends on how things progress, but right now I know they have money to hand out and nobody's asking for it. And they're pretty concerned because they have to meet certain goals in order to be eligible for the money again next year. So they're hoping, to get the word out. So if you know anybody who needs any help, they'd like to help them.
So they could pay for a new deputy then.
Well, yeah, $8 at a time.
Okay, councilors, any further questions? All right, so to summarize, from what I understand it to be, we can have choices of either staying with the contract as it stands with not adding a fourth deputy. We can add a fourth deputy on July 1st, or the other opportunity would be to add a fourth deputy later in the year, whether it be whatever month it might be. So those are the options. And I guess if we're done with the conversation, then probably what the best thing to do would be to entertain a motion, take a vote on it, and if that one passes, it passes. If it doesn't, then we try another motion. Is that the way I understand it, Michelle?
That would be correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, councilors. So any further discussion first off? Okay, hearing none, I am going to entertain a motion, please. Councilor Knudsen.
I move that the city council adopt resolution 2020-19 and authorize the city manager to execute the contract with Lane County Sheriff for 1 sergeant and 4 deputies for fiscal year 2021.
Okay. A motion has been made. Is there a second?
Mark McReynolds will second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion, council? Councilor Proch, it looks like he has his hand up.
The second, but Martha beat me to.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. So we have a motion and we have a second by Councilor Reynolds.
Mayor,
Hello?
Yeah, yes, go ahead, Counselor Castillo.
and can this, is it motion, and can this be also pushed out to that month that, we go forward with the fourth deputy and possibly not enact it till January?
So the motion, as I understand it, as it has been made, is that the fourth deputy will be added at the fiscal year. So July 1st, the fourth deputy will be added. That's the
I
current
think-
motion on the floor.
So
Michelle?
we forgot about, there's somebody that wanted to speak to this. And I think I just heard her chime in. I might be wrong, but didn't somebody want to speak to this? That's why we moved it up?
Mm-mm, no.
Oh,
Well, actually, it was actually Sheriff Harold.
oh,
He wanted
I thought
to be
it was-
included. Yeah, he wanted to be included in the conversation.
okay.
Manager.
Well, there's a 952 number down at the bottom that just said hello. So I was like, I don't know who that is, but maybe they want to talk about it.
Michelle, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I was trying to figure out if I knew who that person in Minnesota was. The person who made the motion could amend it if they so desire at this point. Otherwise, you're correct. The motion that is standing is for the contract to be amended to 4 deputies and 1 sergeant on July 1st.
That was the motion that I made, just to be very clear.
Very good. Any further discussion, council?
I saw Counselor Drago's hand up at one point.
Oh, Counselor Drago, go ahead.
Oh, it was already answered. I was just wondering when it started, so thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, so the motion's been made and seconded, and we've asked questions, if any further questions. So hearing none at this point, we will go ahead and call the roll call vote. Counselor Castillo.
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Drago.
Counselor Drago votes no.
Counselor Knutson.
Counselor Knutson votes yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes no.
Counselor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds votes yes.
Counselor Prochu.
Counselor Prochu votes yes.
And Mayor Zettervall votes yes. The votes in opposition have been recorded, so we have a 5-2 vote with Councilors Inman and Drago in opposition. So the motion passes. All right. So we will now move on to item 6C, which will be the public hearings for the budgetary items. So the City Council will be holding 4 public hearings this evening to receive public comment on Resolution 2020-11, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations and categorizing levy ad valorem taxes, to receive public comments on Resolution 2020-12, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds, and receive public comments on Resolution 20-17, a resolution establishing water sewer services and water rates for users of the Creswell Municipal Water System, and rescinding Resolutions 2019-12 and 2020-18, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for users of the Creswell Municipal Sewer Works Facility, and rescinding Resolution 2019-13. To receive public comment on Resolution 2020-19, a resolution rescinding Resolution 2019-14, establishing a public safety fee and charges in accordance with the provisions of Creswell Municipal Code CMC Chapter 13-30. So if you wish to provide public comment on any of the 5 resolutions being considered, fill out a form located at the table back of the door, or turn it into city recorder, and hopefully you have received possible additions to the public comments to the city recorder. So we will go ahead and open the public hearing at this point. And the public hearing on resolution 2020-11, a resolution adopting budget making appropriations and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes is now open. Testimony of the council wishes to hear any and all comments of interested parties on commenting in this resolution. Has any written testimony or anyone in attendance there to make public testimony? Manager Amber.
I think the public hearing is for several of the items that are listed below, not just the first one. Is that correct?
The way I have the script is they're all individual.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
That's what I heard.
And why are we not doing 6B?
6B. Oh,
Do we do 6B?
yeah, we did that. That was
We
on
already-
the STCs. We did complete that one.
Okay,
Okay.
my bad.
So, all right, so I will go ahead and turn on the timer and we will leave this open for 1 minute. So the way these are written out, Michelle, is we're doing all the hearings in advance and then we're going on to the votes on each of these secondarily, so. That's how I've been instructed.
Thanks, man.
So we did last year.
Mhm. Okay, 1 minute has elapsed. Is there any comments? Public comments at all? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and close that public hearing. A public hearing on resolution 2020-12, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds. The budget committee has recommended using the state revenue sharing funds to be used to work on the comprehensive plan update and community contributions for nonprofit emergency needs, both appropriated in the general fund. The hearing is now open. Comments on that? Testimony is given. The council wishes to hear from anyone interested in this resolution. Is there any public comments that have been submitted in written form?
No.
All right, I will start the timer.
We now have 11 people watching on Facebook.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Amy's waving, hello. All right, 1 minute has elapsed. So has there been any comments on Facebook or live on YouTube?
No.
We have no written comments, so we will close that public hearing. So the next one is the public hearing on resolution 2020-17, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for users of the Creswell Municipal Water System and rescinding resolution 2019-12 and resolution 2020-18. A resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and changes to the users of the Creswell Municipal Sewer Works facilities and rescinding resolution 2019-13 is now open. So Creswell City Council would like to hear from anyone interested in commenting on these resolutions. We will go ahead and begin the timer, and hopefully we will receive some comments. All right, we have reached the 1 minute mark. Is there any public comments on Facebook or YouTube? All right.
No.
Public comments for that is closed and the hearing will be closed. I will now open the last of these 4 hearings. The public hearing on resolution 2020-19, a resolution rescinding resolution 2019-14 and establishing public safety fee and changes in accordance with the provisions of the Creswell Municipal Code, Chapter 13-30 is now open. Creswell City Council wishes to hear from everyone who is interested in commenting in this resolution. You are welcome to leave your comments on Facebook and or YouTube. Are there any written comments that have been submitted? All right, let's start the timer. All right, 1 minute has elapsed on the timer. Are there any public comments on Facebook or on YouTube?
None.
Okay, very good. In that case, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. And that concludes item 6C. We'll now move on to agenda item 6D, which will be the adoption of the budgetary items. So we will take these one at a time, council. And we'll start with item number 1 on 6D, which is resolution 2020-11, resolution adopting budget, making appropriations and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes. Manager Amber, is that for Mr. Piper? Council, is there any discussion or questions?
I got a comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead.
Mayor Zettervall, our city recorder, Roberta Tharp, reminded me that everything's bumped. Re-lettered. So we're at
Yeah, I forgot.
6E now.
Here, 6D. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, now it's 6E, I'm being told.
Mhm. Very good.
Thus my confusion, thank you.
And well-deserved it was. Okay, council, any questions? If not, I'm entertaining a motion on item number 6E, number 1.
I'll do it.
Okay, Councilor Knudsen.
I move to approve resolution 2020-11, a resolution adopting budget, making appropriations, and categorizing and levying ad valorem taxes as presented.
All right, a motion has been made. Is there a second? Councilor Drago?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Drago seconds the motion. Any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and call the roll call vote. Councilor Castillo?
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Dargo,
Counselor Drago, yes.
Counselor Knudsen,
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Counselor Inman,
Counselor Inman, yes.
Counselor McReynolds,
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Counselor Prochu,
Counselor Pratchu, yes.
and Mayor Zetterwald votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. So that moves us to item 6E, number 2. Councilors, are there any questions for Mr. Piper or Manager Amberg? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion, Counselor Inman.
Thank you, Counselor. Go ahead.
I move to approve resolution 2020-12, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues as presented.
All right, the motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, that's Counselor Knudsen makes the second. Is there any discussion, Council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and do the roll call vote again. Counselor Castillo,
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Drago,
Counselor Drago, yes.
Counselor Knudsen,
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Counselor Inman,
Counselor Inman, yes.
Counselor McReynolds,
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Counselor Prochu,
Counselor Pratchu, yes.
and Mayor Zetterwald votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, measure passes unanimously. Okay, which moves us on to item 6E, number 3, resolution 2020 I think this is 13, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mayor.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you. All right, councilors, any questions for Manager Amberg or Mr. Piper? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion, please. Councilor Drago,
I move to approve resolution 20-13, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds as presented.
it should be 2020-13 for absolute clarity.
I'm sorry, you want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
I move to approve resolution 2020-13, a resolution regarding state revenue sharing funds as presented.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor Drago. Is there a second?
McReynolds seconds.
Okay, thank you, Councilor McReynolds. Any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and do the roll call vote. Councilor Castillo,
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Drago,
Counselor Drago, yes.
Councilor Inman,
For Inman, yes.
Councilor Knudsen,
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor McReynolds,
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Pratchu,
Counselor Pratchu, yes.
and Mayor Zetterwald votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to 6E, number 4, resolution 2020-14, a resolution extending city workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Cresswell. Is there any questions for Manager Amberg or to Mr. Piper, council? Hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please. Councilor Drago,
I move to approve resolution 2020-14, a resolution extending the city of Cresswell's worker compensation coverage to volunteers of the city of Cresswell as presented.
very good. A motion has been made, councilor. Is there a second?
McReynolds seconds.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor McReynolds. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion, council? Hearing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Councilor Castillo,
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Drago,
Counselor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen,
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman,
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds,
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Brachu,
Counselor Brachu, yes.
and Mayor Zetterball votes yes. Any votes in opposition? Hearing none, resolution passes unanimously. That moves us to item number 6E. Number 5, resolution 2020-15, a resolution adopting the pay scales for fiscal year 2020-21. Are there any questions, council, to Manager Amberg or to Mr. Piper? Hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please. Councilor Gargo.
I move to approve resolution 2020-15, a resolution adopting the pay scale for the fiscal year 2020 through 21 as presented.
Very good. Councilors, is there a second?
McReynolds seconds.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor McReynolds. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any conversation or discussion to be had? All right, hearing none, I will call the roll. Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Bergo. I see she's left. Councilor Grego, there you go. She's having difficulty with her mic, but I saw a thumbs up, so that what will be recorded as a positive. Councilor Knutson.
Counselor Knutson, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Brachu.
Counselor Brachu, yes.
And Mayor Zetterball votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So that concludes item 6E, and we move on to item 6F, a resolution 2020-16, a resolution adjusting basic rental fees set forth in existing airport leases between the city of Cresswell and individual lessees of property located on Hobby Field. Looks like this is Ms. Humble. Welcome to you.
Good evening, Mayor. Michelle, are you taking this or?
I can take this, Shelley, if you'd like.
Hang on, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Kelly, this is you and Jim.
My computer's acting up, so I will. This is just a standard policy. According to our long-term leases, we adjust the fee yearly according to the CPI index. So before you is the resolution for the 2.8%.
All right.
Yes,
Councilors, are there? Go ahead.
Oh,
Mr. Piper, go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
I might add in the lease agreements, it's the CPI as of the 1st of January, or we take the December 31st CPI into consideration. I just want to clarify that.
Councilors, is there any questions for Mr. Piper or Ms. Humble? All right, hearing none, I am entertaining a motion, please.
I'll make the motion, Counselor Inman.
Thank
I'm
you.
I was thinking about maybe trying to take some snippets of the text I get over the weekend. I just want to say
I move to adopt resolution 2020-16, a resolution adjusting the basic rental fees set forth in the existing airport leases between the city of Cresswell and individual lessees of property located on Hobby Field Airport.
Okay, motion has been read. Is there a second? Councilor Drago.
I'll second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, we will go ahead and proceed with the roll call vote. Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Drago.
Council Drago, yes.
Councilor Knutson, are you there? We'll come back to her. Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Counselor Knudsen, we'll go back to you.
Thank you. Yes.
Counselor McReynolds. Is that a yes, Martha? Are you voting? Okay, that's a yes. I see a nod and a thumbs up. All right, Counselor Prachu.
Councilor Prachu votes yes.
Councilors, or Mayor Setterwall votes yes. Are there any votes in opposition? All right, hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Moves us to item number 6G, Resolution 2020-17, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for the users of Creswell Municipal Water System and rescinding Resolution 2019-12. Mr. Piper.
All right, City Council, what you have before you is the rates for the upcoming fiscal year. We met with the Water Rate Advisory Committee per the city charter and discussed the rates, and the committee recommended a 2% increase over the current rates.
All right, very good. Council, any question for Mr. Piper? All right, hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead, Councilor Prachu.
I move that the City Council approve Resolution 2020-17, a resolution establishing water service fees and water rates for users of the Creswell Municipal Water System, and rescinding Resolution number 2019-12.
Very good. Motion has been read. Is there a second, Council?
McReynolds seconds.
Very good, Martha. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. Is there a further conversation on this issue?
I would like to just say something as,
Go ahead.
oh, my cat wants to say something too.
I hear that.
I was on this committee. We did talk about it a lot in length. We did go over what we could do to mitigate not having to raise fees. Again, this was in January before everything hit, but I do feel strongly that we need water, we need sewer, we need to collect fees in order to have clean water. And going forward, I feel comfortable with the 2% increase, but it's not, I would like it to never increase. I would like us to all just have free things all the time, but that's just not the way it goes. And
Right.
I really hate passing all of these fees on people, including myself. I'm a homeowner here and I have to pay all these fees as well, but it's hard. It's really hard. And I don't make these decisions lightly, I guess I would say. It doesn't come as, I think people watching this budget hearing, it's like, oh, let's just get through these resolutions and check them off. But we've been talking about these for the last year and we'll keep talking about going forward. We just keep talking about all the money that comes in and try to have as many services as we can at an affordable rate. So I hope people are okay with it. If you're not, please email me.
Well, I would like to say thank you so much for your heartfelt comments, because I think all of us who work very hard for our city take your comments to heart and echo those same sentiments. I know it certainly does to me. So I really, really appreciate that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further conversation on this issue, Council? Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Councilor Castillo.
Councilor Castillo votes no.
Okay, Councilor Grego.
Counselor Dingle, yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Councilor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Prachu.
Councilor Prachu, yes.
And Mayor Zetterball votes yes. We have one vote recorded in opposition, and that would be Councilor Castillo, so the result of our vote is 6-1. That moves us to item number 6H. H is in Herald. Resolution 2020-18, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for the users of the Creswell Municipal Sewer Works Facilities and rescinding Resolution 2019-13. This looks like this is Finance Director Piper.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, Water Rate Advisory Committee discussed these rates. It wasn't in the city charter as far as requiring the Water Rate Advisory Committee to discuss the rates, but it's been through the years thought prudent. Again, the rates were considered extensively, and the Water Rate Advisory Committee recommended a 3% increase for sewer.
All right, councilors, any questions for Finance Director Piper? All right, hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please.
I'll do it.
Councilor Knudsen,
I approve that the city council approve resolution 2020-18, a resolution establishing sewer user fees, sewer service fees, and charges for users of the Crestwell Municipal Sewer Works Facilities, and rescinding resolution 2019-13.
okay, very well. Is there a second to this motion?
McReynolds seconds.
Thank you, Councilor McReynolds, greatly appreciate that. Is there any further conversation, council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Councilor Castillo.
Counselor Castillo votes no.
Councilor Drago.
Councilor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Councilor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Crutcher. Kevin, oh, you give a thumbs up. Okay, I do see a thumbs up on the screen. Mayor Zetterball votes yes. We have recorded one vote in opposition. That would be Councilor Castillo. So the result of this vote on this resolution is 6-1. And that moves us back into order without the alphabet to item 6I, resolution 2020-20, a resolution charging off delinquent utility bills. Looks like this is Manager Piper and Ms. Amberg. I'm not sure who would like to carry the torch.
I'm sorry,
I
Mayor.
will defer to Mr. Piper.
All right, very good.
I just wanted to mention that it appears we lost our Facebook feed, but we do still have our YouTube feed up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, we had
So
12 people watching, so I apologize. I think we drained the battery and we don't have a charger up there, so my apologies to everyone.
We've been 2 hours and 18 minutes
Has
of
to
this.
be
So yeah, I
the
get it.
whole block and
I
everything.
thought we did that.
I've got a watch party on Facebook via Crestwell Community Connection, and I can't tell who's actually watching or not, but we've had 32 different people.
That's awesome.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
I
Thank you,
apologize.
Councilor McReynolds.
For
Yeah,
those,
so if anybody that heard that on Facebook, go over to Martha's Watch Party. All right, so we have a resolution before us. Councilors, are there any questions for Mr. Piper? All right, hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please. Councilor Drago.
I move, council approve resolution number 2020-20, a resolution charging off delinquent utility accounts as presented.
Very good. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
McReynolds seconds.
I knew that was coming. Very good.
My guy. I'm
yeah.
number 2.
There you go. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there a further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and do the roll call vote. Councilor Castillo.
Counselor Castillo votes yes.
Councilor Drago.
Councilor Drago votes yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Counselor Knudsen votes yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman votes yes.
Very good. Councilor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds votes yes.
Okay, Councilor Crutcher.
Councilor Crutcher votes yes.
And Mayor Zetterball votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, this resolution passes 7-0. All right, that moves us to item 6J. This is ordinance number 540, adding chapter 830 to the Creswell Municipal Code regarding derelict, abandoned, and vacant commercial and residential buildings. Manager Amber.
Thank you, Mayor. You may not recall, but back in February, we had talked about maybe bringing this ordinance forward. And if you had a chance to review it, you see that it's much more, much better defines what a derelict building is and gives us a much better vision of how to address derelict and abandoned buildings. The nuisance ordinance that we have is sufficient, but it's not really as helpful, I think, as this ordinance would be. This is an ordinance that was put in place by Astoria, and you can see the redevelopment that has occurred up there after they put in the ordinance. So I thought that this would be a very useful tool for us here because it has much more descriptive language, and it would allow us, in particular, I was thinking of two instances which since February have been addressed more or less. One is Bald Knob. This would allow us to actually go after or at least address the absentee landlord issue there because the building has been vacant for an excessive number of years. So we could begin to an abatement process based on neglect in that area, or at least we could begin to fine and cite this person, this company, which we can't do under the nuisance abatement. If it's not a nuisance, we don't have any teeth to do it. This would also allow us to address Super 8. However, it's my understanding that the Super 8 has been under negotiation for sale, and we have received information from a developer. I can't reveal too much about it right now, but the intent is to clean up the property and put it back into use. So, however, if it doesn't occur, this would apply to that property as well. The property maybe doesn't rise to the level of our nuisance ordinance, but under this derelict building and vacant building ordinance, we could demand that the owner do certain things to improve the look and use of the building. And one of them is to, one of the things that's in this ordinance is it really encourages the owners, or at least gives us a way to encourage owners to get somebody into the building and not just let it sit vacant. So I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
All right, council. Go ahead, Councilor Pochico.
Do you have a question? So you gave us a couple of good examples of where this might apply. Are there any other like currently standing examples where if this were to affect?
Right now, actually, we're doing pretty well as far as having everything full with a business. But if we were to have another recession and a long-term recession and a downturn, one of the nice things about this is we would work with building owners to make sure that storefronts weren't empty. If you see that there is a provision in there that we would work with front owners to at least put a display in the window of some sort, a historical display or a informative display, that would just make our downtown look nicer. That would be another thing we could do with this. I can't think of any buildings right now that are empty in Creswell, actually, other than the Super 8 and the Bald Knob.
But there's storefronts on Oregon Avenue, like the old historic, it was a movie theater, but there's like an apartment in the back, but it was a storefront and it's boarded up and it looks awful. And you can't tell if it's a business, if this is a random building, is it abandoned? It looks abandoned. It hasn't been kept up or anything.
Yeah, it used to be a movie theater, you're correct. And my understanding is that the people who own the theater actually have a house behind it. So that's actually the owner of the area. And right now they're using that space for storage. But we could use this to encourage them to perhaps put murals up or posters up, something of historical significance up on the building. I don't know that it actually addresses that particular situation, but we can talk to them. This give us the ability to say, hey, City Council just adopted this and we want to work with you, and how can we make this look a little bit more like a downtown business rather than a storage facility.
Counselors, any further questions?
I've got something.
Go ahead, Martha.
Thank you, sir. So under J, we talked about hazardous materials associated with residential properties, which is lovely. But with the whistle stop thing, I learned how much of a blind spot that asbestos issue was. We let that sit there for a year before we really clicked that we had friable asbestos going on right, down the street from where I live. I'm really disappointed by my lack of alertness, and in general, I think I'm kind of underwhelmed by our response to that situation. And here, having asbestos only and the hazardous materials, it appears, only appear once, and only in relation to residential property. I feel funny about that. I would answer myself that the DEQ language, the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality, has language that covers us on commercial and industrial properties, but it didn't help us with the whistle stop.
Well, I would respectfully disagree with you. At the point where we actually began the demolition, we did ask for them to hire a company, and they did hire a company that took into account the demolition and the asbestos. Unfortunately, they did the demolition themselves, and so it was a bit of a trial to get them to dispose of it correctly. We ran into some issues ourselves on that. I think Cliff had a bit of frustration with the way that whole thing was handled. It was a learning experience for all of us, and certainly something that we'll do better on next time. But as soon as we were aware of it, we did do what we could to do our due diligence on it. It's very difficult. It's very difficult when the owner themselves undertakes the demolition in the manner that it was done. And now we have a full-time code enforcement person. Before we were, squeezing time in for a person who was already had a lot on her plate. And so now Jerry can babysit it a little bit better when we go into that situation. But I do hear what you're saying.
And I'm not trying to retry anything. I'm just saying, if this document is meant to tighten the net, if we're only calling out residential properties here, is there not a hole in the net, not including commercial properties also in this hazardous materials language?
I believe, though, that your assumption that industrial and commercial are handled by the state is correct on this. This gives us teeth to actually also go after residential. So, So we
and the state rules can be more lax towards the residential properties, which would mean we would want this sort of language, on our side of the table.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that you're saying what I want to hear is that next time we know better and we act faster, and we don't have an asbestos blowing around down the street.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Councilors, any further questions?
Adequate.
Councilor Knudsen? No, not a question? Okay. Well, hearing no further questions, I am entertaining a motion, please.
Just a reminder that this is an ordinance, so it has to be read twice by title.
Very good. Thank you, Michelle. Councilors, anyone?
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I move that the Creswell City Council adopt ordinance 540 adding chapter 8.30 to the Cresswell Municipal Code regarding derelict, abandoned, and vacant commercial and residential buildings. I'm as presented. I move that the Cresswell City Council adopt ordinance 540, adding chapter 830 to the Cresswell Municipal Code regarding derelict, abandoned, and vacant commercial and residential buildings as presented.
All right, there's a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Councillor Knudsen, second. So reminder, council, that this being an ordinance, it would need to pass unanimously for it to take effect tonight, or go into effect, let's put it that way. If we do not get a unanimous vote, it goes to the next council meeting where then a simple majority would enact the ordinance. All right, so we will go ahead and call the roll. Councillor Castillo.
Councillor Castillo votes yes.
Councillor Grego.
Councillor Drago, yes.
Councillor Knudsen.
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councillor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councillor McReynolds.
Councillor McReynolds, yes.
Councillor Crutchfield.
Councillor Prachi, yes.
Mayor Zetterball votes yes. So we have any votes in opposition, council? Hearing none, we have a 7-0 vote for a unanimous vote, and then ordinance passes. Thank you, council. And that moves us on to item number 6K, which is adopt 4th of July 2020 guidance. Ms. Manager Amberg.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, Cresswell is a town that prides itself on having one of the best 4th of Julys in the area. Unfortunately, this year's 4th of July has been curtailed because of the COVID pandemic. There are several reasons why the Chamber of Commerce has decided not to host the 4th of July this year. And I think we can support all of those reasons. However, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And I know that some folks in town are going to miss the 4th of July very much. So I was brainstorming with some folks, and we decided that the city should sponsor something, or at least endorse something and provide some kind of framework for people to celebrate the 4th of July as a community. And so what you have before you is a brief list of things that we could endorse for the city for the 4th of July. And I could put out official information regarding this if this is something that the city council wishes to endorse. One of the ways that we would do this is we would make up door hangers, and we will go around town and make sure every residence gets a door hanger and every business gets a door hanger that says what the expectations are about 4th of July in Cresswell. And so you can go through the list here. Basically, we follow the governor's issued guidance materials regarding social distancing and sanitation. We already have purchased red, white, and blue lights to put on the light poles on Oregon Avenue, and Cliff and his fellows are going to do that. We've got some flags that are all made out of lights that we're going to put up on City Hall, and Sue Ludahl is going to decorate the library as well. We have banners that we'll hang up on the light poles along Oregon Avenue. There are service clubs that'll place flags along Oregon Avenue. So I think Oregon Avenue will be pretty festive for the 4th of July. What we can do is encourage home-based activities such as, having games at home, barbecues and family gatherings, and then safe and sane fireworks. I know that the fire department or the fire district plans on really keeping an eye out for illegal fireworks this year. Even though we're getting rain, maybe that will change the fire severity quotient. But prior to this rain, they were very concerned about a very bad fire season. So, again, they had planned on really cracking down on illegal fireworks in Crestwell. I would like to hire the Kona Ice Truck to go around town into the neighborhoods and kind of, that would encourage people to stay home maybe and actually stay close in their neighborhood. I'm thinking that the door hangers would have 4 tickets for a free ice. So each family, each residence would get 4 tickets. And if that's not enough tickets, maybe they could, trade with their neighbors or ask, if anybody else has some extras, or they could buy the ices. That's anything over 4. But I think the important part is to limit it, because we don't want to encourage people from out of town to come to Crestwell. That is one of the things that the governor is really, stressing, is that 4th of July should be a community effort within your community. So we don't want to offer, my first idea was to offer free ices to everyone who showed up, but we want to make sure that we only give ices to people who reside in Crestwell. And we can work with people on that, but I think 4 is a good starting point. And then have decorating contests. So if you decorate your house, you decorate your business, you could win prizes. We'll get gift certificates to appropriate businesses, or we'll seek out sponsorships from businesses here in town. That's kind of difficult to do right now because so many of the businesses have been impacted. I think it would be a good economic development strategy for the city to actually buy gifts from local businesses just to encourage their success right now. And then we could have different themes even. So we have different classifications for people to decorate. We could do sidewalk chalk art again and decorate, and give prizes for that. We could do a pet pet dress up and have judging of that. And the judges would go from house to house. People would have to let us know if fans if they want to come to their house to judge their pet. The Chronicle is very interested in helping support this and getting photos, of course. And so, we have some disc golf, floppy disc golf toys we could hand out also. And I'm working with Mandy Haggard to put up a lighting display at Holt Park that people could walk or drive by. And that would, she said that we needed to wait until after graduation because she was working on that. But that she would even have people who could stay overnight in the park to keep an eye on whatever was set up there so that it would be safe and not vandalized. So that is kind of where I'm at. And I'm just wondering if council supports this. If there's any other things, we're going to have the jet flyover. We've already put in for that. We've requested that. I know Shelley has been working with aviators, local aviators, to do some flying over Crestwell with smoke and interesting planes. So we'll still have that aspect. But as far as the traditional Crestwell 4th of July, we're not going to have a parade. We're not going to have a pancake breakfast. We're not going to be able to do the big fireworks show. And that's kind of where we're at. But I'd love to hear what you think.
All right, thanks for the explanation, Michelle. I have to echo what you said because you and I have both been on the weekly governor calls, and this is something definitely that they are emphasizing, is to try and make it community-focused, community-centered activities for the July 4th, especially for the cities like Crestwell and Harrisburg that are, very focused upon 4th of July and our success and what we bring about. So anyway, councils, any questions for Manager Amber?
I do have a question.
Go ahead, Councilor Patru.
Okay. First of all, I want to nominate Martha's cat for the pet dress up. Secondly, I'm all very much in support of all of this. I am a little bit concerned because what we're being asked to look at, we don't have the financial to set a cap, maybe, as far as maybe what we think we should be spending here, or how does that we wouldn't feel about that.
Michelle, any comments about the financial aspect?
I would welcome any kind of input on that as well. We've already bought the lights, but they were really not that expensive. And we did have some money in the budget. We've cut out doing the public works, public thing. Public Works Day promotion, and we've done the Kona Ice for that in the past. This would probably be a lot more expensive though this year because we're going to rent them for the full day instead of 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So any kind of guidance on that would be welcome.
Well, we probably had budgeted for the emergency preparedness fair too, which is likely not going to happen as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there would be significant budgetary savings from that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, council, any suggestions?
Is there anything you wanted to add about the financial side of this?
Actually, you guys kind of all flushed it out right there. We're going to have some savings with not being able to have the public safety fair and the Public Works Day. Those were good points.
You're also able to save quite a bit on our, I'm going to brag on Jim a little bit because I don't think anybody's said this, but Jim was able to find us a considerable amount of savings in our workers' comp this year too. $35,000, was it, Jim?
Approximately 25, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we were looking at significant increase in our workers' comp, and we went out and shopped around and saved a good chunk of change. Thanks, Michelle.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor McReynolds, you had a question?
I did. My concern is that Kona Ice will have a capacity and they won't be able to even make 4 for everyone that shows up. They can only make so many shaved ices in a day. Maybe we need 2 ice carts.
Maybe. I talked to them and they thought they could do it, but we can certainly look at more than one.
Cottage Grove had a shaved ice cart that people famously would stand in line for an hour or longer for.
I would love to get their name.
Oh, no, they're gone. They're long gone. But, it takes a while and people will wait.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid is big, long mobs of people. We want to make sure people stand the 6 feet apart and all of that. And so Kona will have some issues with, making sure that happens. But, people can have 25 to 50 people at their homes. I don't think that's going to happen. We are allowed to have 50 people or 100 people if it's outside. The problem is limiting it to 100. If we actually do anything outside, we're going to get more than 100 people. I don't think there's anything really organized that we can do other than something like a Kona truck that goes to the neighborhoods, unless you have some other ideas you'd like to share.
Okay, Councilor Knudsen.
So I know it's going to be hard for people to adjust to this, and I'm in support of everything that you come up with. I certainly couldn't have come up with all these ideas that are very creative. I don't know what to do. It's like, well, we'll just have a barbecue. That's it. Done. So I certainly don't want you to stress yourself out and try to get all this done. I mean, 4th of July is literally just a few weeks away, but I'm in support of anything and everything that you can do to help bring the community together. And I say next year, wait for next year, people. 4th of July is going to come around every year, so.
Yeah, part of what I think the chamber's trying to do is, this year, people really shouldn't be getting together. And if they had one this year, next year's would suffer because their income stream is really being hit hard. So if they spent the money this year, they won't have it next year. So by, delaying it, they can have a really good one next year.
And I say, let's shoot for that.
Here, here.
All right, counselors, any other questions? If not, then I'm entertaining a motion, please.
I'll do it.
Counselor Drago, I think, was first.
So, I move that the city council adopt the July 4th, 2020 guidance as presented.
All right, a motion has been made. Is there a second?
McReynolds will second.
McReynolds got that one in there on time. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion, council? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Counselor Castillo. Yes, you may.
Is it okay if I add stuff to the list?
Yeah, there's a question mark at the end of the list.
Yeah, please do.
You left
Okay.
both privilege.
Okay.
All right, very good. All right,
As the budget allows.
there you go.
I second.
Okay, so Counselor Castillo.
Counselor, Castillo votes yes.
Counselor Grego.
Counselor Drago, yes.
Counselor Knudsen.
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Counselor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Counselor McReynolds.
Counselor McReynolds, yes.
Counselor Crutchfield.
Counselor Prachu, yes.
And Mayor Zetterwald votes yes. Any votes in opposition? Hearing none, measure passes unanimously. Thank you, Michelle, for putting that together. I think that's something that our community will have something to look forward to, albeit not quite the same, but it is going to be something we will have to be able to have some fun in our community and be able to invite, maybe a small family and friends down to enjoy a barbecue and, other things. So I really appreciate that. All right, that moves us to our last item on the agenda, which is item 6L, which is a public hearing and motion regarding the community development and housing needs and authorizing city manager to apply for $150,000 in community development block grant CDBG funds for small business assistance and micro enterprise projects. All right, so this is a long script I've got to read, so here we go. Public notice and notice for public hearing. The city of Creswell is eligible to apply for 2022 community development block grants from Business Oregon. Community development block grant funds come from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The grants can be used for public facilities and housing improvements, primarily for persons of low and moderate incomes. Approximately $12 million will be awarded to Oregon non-metropolitan cities and counties in 2020. The city of Creswell is preparing an application for emergency small business and micro enterprise assistance projects in response with the COVID-19 pandemic. The maximum grant that a city or county can receive for emergency small business and micro enterprise assistance projects is $150,000. The city of Creswell, in cooperation with Lane County, is preparing an application for the 2020 Community Development Block Grant for the Business Oregon for emergency small business assistance and micro enterprise grant assistance for all non-entitlement cities and unincorporated areas in Lane County. The proposed project will benefit all at least persons with low and moderate incomes. A public hearing will be held by the city of Creswell at 6 p.m. on Monday, June 8th, 2020. The council chambers of City Hall. The purpose for this hearing is for the city council to obtain citizen views and to respond for questions and comments about community development and housing needs, especially needs of low and moderate income persons, as well as other needs in the community that might be assisted with the community development block grant project and the proposed project. Written comments are also welcome and must be received as of Monday, June 8, 2020 at 5 p.m. at the location of 13 South 1st Street, Creswell, Oregon 97426. Both oral and written comments will be considered by the city council in deciding whether to apply. The location of the hearing is accessible to persons with disabilities. Please contact Roberta Tharp at 2531. If you will need any special accommodations to attend or participate in the meeting. More information about the Oregon Community Development Block Grants, the proposed project, and records about the city's past use of Community Development Block Grant funds is available for public review at the City of Creswell Hall, during regular business hours. Advance notification is requested. If special accommodations are needed, please notify Roberta Tharp at the following phone number so that appropriate assistance can be provided. Permanent involuntary displacement of persons or businesses is not anticipated as a result from the proposed project. If displacement becomes necessary, alternatives will be examined to minimize the displacement and provide required and/or reasonable benefits for those displaced. Any low and moderate income housing that is demolished or converted to another use will be replaced. All right, so that's the notification I've got. So at this point, I will go ahead and open the public hearing and ask if there is any public comments, either written or orally, to be presented.
None.
None. All right. I'll ask for the staff report at this point in time.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, my laptop died and I'm just right back. I missed that whole bit.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You read the whole,
I read the whole thing verbatim.
okay, is that all I missed?
Yeah, that's really good.
Okay, back just in the nick of time.
Nick of time, yep.
We are, as you know, we just, am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. As you know, we just recently finished the first draw requirements for the housing rehab program, which is a community development block grant program. This $150,000 requires the same things as the housing rehab. Same things have to be accomplished, which is not an easy thing to do. This $150,000 is also a first come, first serve. And Google's giving me a hard time here. Excuse me. It's first come, first serve. So time is of the essence. So in order to make sure that Lane County's non-entitlement communities are eligible for or in the queue for this $150,000, Creswell was chosen to be the applicant. So we are the applicant alongside of the county. And if you approve of this, we would be the applicant alongside of the county. What this will do is it will make $150,000 available to small businesses and micro enterprises. It will be grants. It will not be loans. And it will be managed through Community Lending Works, just like the other money that was set aside. And I would be happy to answer any questions. It's kind of complicated, so I won't go into too much depth unless you want me to.
All right, Council, are there any questions for Ms. Amber? Councilor Drago.
What is the expense to us as far as like employee time?
It's been a lot of my time, and putting together the application is no small thing. Plus, I'm trying to coordinate with several small communities. So I have a call set up for Wednesday where we're going to actually go over the application and make sure that it reflects the intent of everyone. So it is a considerable amount of my time, but once the money is actually allocated, we have met all the first draw requirements. We can just use the exact same documents. We have the exact same person at the federal level overseeing this grant for us as we do for the housing grant. And so he has assured me that we can use exactly the same documents we use for the housing grant for this one. But we won't have to do the environmental review again. We won't have to redo the cultural studies. We won't have to redo any of the policy adoptions. Those were all done and can just roll right over. So we're saving a considerable amount of time for the group by being the people who, the entity that's applying. But it will probably take a bit of my time for the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor McReynolds.
Thank you, sir. I would consider a considerable amount of time into the next 2 weeks and what you've already put a very valid investment, especially if I remember right, what you're putting in place is going to remain. This isn't a one-time resource for small businesses in the area. This is going to be an economic development resource into the future, right?
Well, unfortunately, no, this one won't be. This will be a one-time $150,000 that can only go to small businesses who have, actually, they have to self-report that they are all low to moderate income, even their employees. They have to be a minority-owned or female-owned business. And they cannot live, none of their employees nor themselves, the owners, can live in the Springfield or Eugene area. So in the cities, they can live outside the city and they have to verify, we have to collect data, but actually I believe Community Lending Works will collect all the demographic data. I don't think we'll have to do any of that because it will be part of the application process. They'll have to verify that all of their employees live outside of Springfield and Eugene. And then Community Lending Works will also do the income verification as well as the minority status verifications.
Okay, councillors, any further questions? All right, hearing none, I'm entertaining a motion, please.
I move that the city council authorize the city manager to apply
Excuse me,
for
Mayor.
$150,000 in.
Sorry to interrupt. Roberta's telling me you need to close the public hearing. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's right. Yes, that's correct. That's right. I am so sorry. So do we have any further comments from the public on Facebook or via YouTube? Sorry.
No.
Okay, very good. We will go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, now we can move ahead with the motion. Go ahead and finish, Councillor Castilla. Redo the motion.
I'll start.
Thank you,
I
sir.
move that the city council authorize the city manager to apply for $150,000 in community development block grant funds for small business assistance and micro enterprise projects and to sign all documents associated with the program.
All right, very good. Is there a second, council?
McReynolds will second.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor McReynolds. We have a motion on the floor and second. Is there a further conversation? Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and call the roll. Councilor Castilla. Councilor Castilla?
Councilor Castillo votes yes.
Very good. Councilor Grego.
Councilor Drago, yes.
Councilor Knudsen.
Counselor Knudsen, yes.
Councilor McReynolds.
Councilor McReynolds, yes.
Councilor Inman.
Counselor Inman, yes.
Councilor Prochu.
Councilor Prachu, yes.
Mayor Zetterval votes yes. Is there any votes in opposition? Hearing none, this resolution passes unanimously. And that thankfully concludes tonight's meeting. It has been an enduring task, and I want to thank every one of you for your diligence. Yeah, I know, we're 1 minute short of 3 hours, correct, Amy? I really appreciate your keeping tabs. So we will go ahead and call this meeting adjourned, 1 minute short of 3 hours. So thanks very much.
Thank you all.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it very, very much.